The fictional City of Ember reminds me a lot of the biblical cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. Not for R-rated reasons, as this is a children's novel, but for some pretty deep thematic reasons. The author Jeanne DuPrau may not have intended to make a scriptural allusion, but when we overlay the ancient story over her novel, we get some strong thematic parallels, such as total and certain destruction of a city, the good people mixed in with the bad, and the sad reality that sometimes you can't save everybody. Welcome back to my channel, in which I like to share not just what I'm reading, but how I like to read it. And I'm going to demonstrate one of those ways now using The City of Ember, which was my reread for the month. I really like revisiting books I have read before, and I'll tell you more about why I chose The City of Ember in another video. Let's get started with the how of the reading. Ember is an underground city that is completely dependent on a generator that is powered by a great river. The citizens of Ember have never known any other existence or any other civilization. Anyone who has tried to leave Ember to explore the surrounding area has been thwarted by total darkness. They have lights in their city, but they have no way to transport the light. For over 200 years, this has not been a problem. It simply was what it was. But at the start of the novel, the cracks are starting to show. Supplies are running really low, and the generator has started to break down with increasing frequency. Now, the people of Ember might be able to eke out a subsistence lifestyle if they have to with the few resources they have left. But how could anyone survive in total darkness? When our young protagonists, Lina and Dune, realize the extent of the crisis, their initial assumption is that they have to save the whole city. I mean, of course they have to save the whole city. And in case it wasn't self-evident, there is a whole subplot in which Lina realizes that saving just yourself or just a small select group of people is wrong. Not just because it's unfair to the rest, but also because it twists something inside of you. Unfortunately, there is a small but powerful group in Ember that does not see things the same way. The status quo actually serves them well, and they cannot or will not see beyond it. We might say they're in darkness in a whole other way. If for Lina and Dune, what is unthinkable is to save only themselves and not the whole city, for the villains, what is unthinkable is to lose their exalted status over the rest of the population. To paraphrase another Christian text, they would rather rule in a dying, rapidly darkening city than serve in a place where everyone is in the same boat. And that's actually, now that I think about it, also a good metaphor for this story. Where DuPrau diverges from Genesis is in what we might call the morality demographics. In the Genesis story, the problem was that there were too few good people mixed in with the evil people in Sodom and Gomorrah. But in Ember, the majority of the people are good. In fact, there is a really beautiful, poignant moment in which they prove that they are worth saving, which is not to say that people in general are not worth saving, but it just resonates more when you can believe that all your heroism is for something good and worthwhile. And if you've read the novel but don't know what I mean, it's the musical moment. And so one theme of The City of Ember that is not shared with the story of Sodom and Gomorrah is unity and solidarity. And we can tell from that scene, that musical moment, that the people of Ember can sing together, they can harmonize, they can finish a song beautifully. They will finish their own story beautifully. Interestingly, the villains don't really take part in this moment. There's a very plausible reason for that. And I think that their exclusion says almost as much about them as their previous acts of villainy. And it is because of this difference that when we get close to the end and Lina and Dune have to look back in an interesting way, they do not get turned into pillars of salt. But it's also worth saying that the City of Ember is not also an Exodus story. And I'm not being too spoilery by saying if you want that, you're going to have to read the sequel, The People of Sparks. I want it, and I'm going to have to read the sequel, The People of Sparks. I've kept this short because it wasn't really an analysis of the novel itself as much as it was a demonstration of this way of reading by comparing modern texts to much older, more archetypal stories. And obviously, this way of reading is not exclusive to me at all. We all learned about it in school. This video essay is a little shorter than my usual ones because it's not really an analysis of the City of Ember as much as it is a demonstration of this way of reading. And obviously, it's not a way of reading that's exclusive to me. We all learned about literary allusions and mythical allusions in school. I just have not seen many examples of it lately, so I thought I'd poke the sleeping dragon. And it really is a lot of fun to take ancient myths, legends, fairy tales, folk tales, and even sacred scripture and overlay it on newer texts, even if the newer texts were not intended to be cover versions of those older stories. And I think we can do this even when the older texts and the newer texts come from completely different cultures and completely different traditions. The psychologist Carl Jung theorized that there is a collective unconscious of symbols which mean pretty much the same thing to everyone, regardless of which culture you're born into. For instance, everyone in the world understands what a king is, a kingly figure. You may not agree with monarchy politically, or ideologically, but you know what is meant by that. So what do you think? Do you like comparing ancient stuff and modern stuff? Do you think that archetypal legends from vastly different cultures can have something to say to each other, or can even be on a collective unconscious level, original and cover versions of each other? Specifically, coming back to the City of Ember now, do you agree with my Sodom and Gomorrah connection, which is not just about the parallels and the similarities, but also about one really significant difference, which sets the people of Ember apart from the unfortunate citizens of the other two cities? Or would you say that this reminds you more of a different ancient myth or different older story? Please let me know by leaving a comment, and thank you for watching.